In the heart of a dense, forgotten forest near the village of Ravenshade, there were tales of horror and dark mysteries. The villagers spoke of harpies, monstrous creatures with the bodies of women, wings of giant birds, and talons sharp enough to tear flesh from bone. Their eyes, it was said, could pierce a man's very soul. On a particularly dark night, where the moon hid behind thick clouds, a young villager named Lucas felt the weight of curiosity and bravado. He had grown up on stories of the harpies, yet he remained skeptical of such tales. His friends' dares and his own need to prove his courage led him to decide to venture into the depths of the forest. Armed with a flickering torch and a dagger, Lucas embarked on his perilous journey. The forest loomed dark and silent as Lucas's torch cast flickering shadows on the twisted trees. Each step seemed to echo ominously, as if the forest itself were alive, watching and waiting. The deeper he went, the more oppressive the darkness became, until even the torchlight seemed to be swallowed whole. And suddenly he stumbled upon a cliff's edge, where the land abruptly fell away into a deep, dark abyss. A cold wind howled up from the depths, carrying with it the stench of decay. At the very edge, a strange, unsettling structure caught his eye, a nest of twisted branches and bones, large enough to belong to something unnatural. As Lucas approached, a shrill cry pierced the night. He turned just in time to see not one, but a group of harpies descending upon him, their wings blocking out the scant light of his torch. Their eyes, glowing like embers, fixed on him with an intensity that made his blood run cold. "Why do you trespass in our domain, mortal?" the lead harpy screeched, her voice like nails on a chalkboard. "I seek proof of your existence," Lucas replied, trying to keep his voice steady. He raised his dagger, though his hand trembled. The harpies laughed, a chilling sound that seemed to reverberate through the very bones of the earth. "Bravery and foolishness are often one and the same," another harpy hissed. Without warning, they lunged at him, talons outstretched. Lucas dodged to the side, barely avoiding their deadly grasp. He swung his dagger wildly, managing to graze the wing of the nearest harpy. She shrieked in fury, but instead of attacking him directly, the harpies began toying with him. They circled him, darting in and out, their talons scraping at his clothes and skin. Lucas swung his dagger desperately, trying to keep them at bay, but the harpies were too fast. One would slash at him from behind, and as he turned to defend himself, another would strike from the side. "Look at him squirm," one harpy cackled. "So full of fear." "How long do you think he'll last?" another mocked, her eyes gleaming with cruel amusement. Lucas's breaths came in ragged gasps as he fought to stay on his feet. His torch had fallen to the ground and extinguished, leaving him with only the dim light of the moon barely visible through the clouds. The harpies continued their torment, tearing at his clothes, leaving shallow cuts that stung and bled. With a sudden burst of energy, Lucas lunged at the nearest harpy, his dagger finding its mark. She screeched in pain, flapping her wings wildly as she retreated. For a moment, the other harpies paused, their eyes narrowing with anger. "You'll pay for that, human," the lead harpy hissed. They attacked with renewed fury, no longer toying with him but striking with deadly intent. Lucas fought desperately, his movements growing slower as exhaustion set in. A talon slashed across his back and he stumbled, falling to his knees at the edge of the cliff. The ground crumbled beneath him as the harpies closed in. Desperation clawed at his mind, but he refused to back down. With a final defiant cry, he thrust his dagger forward, but the lead harpy caught his arm in her iron grip. With a powerful push, the harpy sent Lucas over the edge. His scream echoed as he fell, his torch and dagger slipping from his grasp. The darkness swallowed him, and for a moment all was silent. The villagers found Lucas's broken body at the base of the cliff the next day. His eyes were wide open, frozen in an expression of utter terror, and his limbs were twisted unnaturally. The torch lay nearby, its flame long extinguished. Ravenshade was forever changed after that night. The forest, once a place of whispered tales and childhood dares, became a forbidden zone. The villagers spoke in hushed tones of the harpies and the boy who had dared to challenge them. On moonless nights, some claimed to see a spectral figure wandering the forest's edge, a torch flickering in the darkness, a warning to all who might think to brave the harpies' domain. The harpies remained, their curse unbroken, ever watchful for the next soul foolish enough to trespass in their realm. And so the village of Ravenshade lived in perpetual fear, haunted by the knowledge that some legends were all too real.